Hello, my name is Brian Maxwell, and this is Brian's voice. Well, I'm Brian, and this is my voice. You're very welcome to episode 2. I asked people on social media, would you like to hear real life stories or made up stories? And I'm quite surprised. Yous wanted to hear real life stories. That sent me into an existential panic. What do you mean you want to hear real life stories? I have nothing interesting to say. I was all for telling fake stories about animals and wizards and magic and fantasy and being able to get your bus on time, these mad otherworldly ideas. And now I have been tasked to tell a real life story. Well, here we go. Do you remember the 90s? Oh, the 90s. Before we knew cigarettes were dangerous and crossing the road against oncoming traffic was a preferred pastime of my household. Go out and play with the traffic, my mother said. And I did. And doesn't it suit me? Look, I'm wearing a fluffy tire in memory of it. 90s kids are such a commodity. So much so, it's now retro. We're retro now, lads. How horrifying. Nothing summed up the 90s more for me than two things. The Simpsons and gladiators. Not the Roman Colosseum. Not the Ridley Scott epic. Do you remember? It's time for gladiators. Now I'm talking about the UK version. I'm sure others exist, but not in this house. The idea that someone would join this competition, this seemingly national competition, to do trials and tribulations against, and while also wearing lycra. They just competed in lycra. Remember lycra? Going to be a very remembery episode. I loved it. I wouldn't be partaking today because, well, I was born in the 90s and my athletic prowess was left somewhere around 2006. I remember being in a pub, trying to watch gladiators on the television and being annoyed at all the adults around me who were drinking and smoking indoors. So imagine you walk into a pub and there's the long bar, and just off in a slight alcove is a television and a wraparound couch. That's where the children were put. And Gladiators was on the telly. And I was watching it. And then another child joined. And another child joined. And another child joined. And we all just sat there, watching Gladiators in the pub, which quite frankly sounds like the best night out I could possibly have today. Let's all go to the pub and watch Gladiators. Oh my God. Remember, I have ADHD. there will be many diversions on this story. I loved Wolf, 'cause he was named Wolf, and there is nothing cooler to me as a child in the 90s than a wolf. Reminds me, I really should get that tattoo. Look at Wolf now. To me, he was much bigger and stronger and intimidating and bad. And then I look back on it and I realise this is just professional wrestling and pantomime. My God, do I love professional wrestling and pantomime? Oh, no, I don't. Oh, yes, I do. So much so, I nearly had an opportunity to be in a panto. A side mission for another day, perhaps. Everything's very safe these days, which is brilliant. Congratulations, everyone. Everything's very safe. Gladiators was not safe. People were running and jumping and grabbing and clinging and bashing with their full might, for they were the gladiators. I couldn't imagine that show being able to be made today. The insurance costs alone baffle the mind. And the price of lycra these days, have you looked at it recently? My God. It's not the only thing that's been inflated. Ooh, careful now. Because I was a child. And I was just bought in by the pantomime of it all. My mum and dad watched too. And they should have known better. I learned by watching you, Mum and Dad. You're the reason why I like camp and expressive programming. You're the reason why I like primary colours. And why I want to get a wolf tattoo. I don't know of anything else that's around today that has that same level of unbelievable actual danger and peril. I know wrestling is still around, but that's another video for another day. And now I have a child. Some say I'll have 2 children. One of those people there is my wife, who's pregnant with there's going to be 2 children, technically 3 in the house. Me, I'm the 3rd child. Everyone pray for Sarah. But now that I'm a dad, I can see why the Gladiators was the worst thing ever, because the second I watched it, I wanted to reenact it, even though I was told not to. Pillows were flung, jumps were leapt, and I wanted to be. I developed an affinity for the Scottish accent that day, and a love for whistles. 3, 2, 1. I wanted to be a contender. I didn't want to be a gladiator. And we would reenact the events on bouncy castles and in the epitome of childhood 90s endeavour, the zoo in the Plex. We would line up for someone's birthday or communion, and we would race all the way through at full speed, over and under, dipping, dodging, ducking and diving before there was ever a dodgeball. The speed in which I moved through life as a child is something that I envy now. I tried jumping on the couch yesterday and my ankle did a strange thing. And that wasn't even the ankle that I jumped off. I was running, which was my mistake to begin with. Had too much coffee and I just ran towards the couch and leapt. Get it! Age. Like a fine wine or a barreled whiskey. Yes, I may be getting sweeter. Ooh, Lord, I need some yoga or Pilates. Or just getting a bit of a chair without going. There is a moment that happened to me when I became the protector of a tiny person, watching them run at full speed into inflatable objects, some form of jumping zone, and my son just with no care in the world. And I was very much the referee, shepherding him away from everything, the helicopter parent. And I was told by my wife, you need to let him play more, otherwise he'll never learn. And it made a lot of sense. But try tell me to do that. I don't want him to get hurt. I'm quite fond of him. He's a lovely fella. I need to show him more physics lectures, you know. Force, velocity, sudden stop equals Temple Street. And then I read that if you do play with your children, it's good for them. And specifically, without causing injury, if you can play in a rougher way, throw them around, pick them up, spin them around, it's good for them. I don't want to be a frequent flyer in any type of National Children's Hospital. Lord knows the cost is too high. And I'm not just talking about the builder's budget. There's such a split between wanting to play and wanting to be safe. That's true for everything. Until it was my son's recent birthday. And my wife insisted we get a bouncy castle. And I'm worried, like, oh my God, will he be okay? Will the little fella be okay? Will the other children be okay? And not only were they okay, they were playfully violent. And they had a great time. While me and the other parents were picking them up by their arms and legs and throwing them into the bouncy castle wall. There's such a strange second game that happens, which is, yes, I will fling you against this bouncy castle wall, but I will do so in a way that I will try to negate as much injury as possible. And then I was at another family event, and there was another bouncy castle. Definitely less people at this one. I asked Ethan, did he want to go on the bouncy castle? I didn't particularly care if he joined me. And the more I'm learning to play, and the more Ethan is teaching me to play more, it's becoming this just source of joy that I'm really looking forward to the next event. I really hope there's a bouncy castle. Think if we have some type of inauguration for the next president, there'll be a bouncy castle at it. We need more bouncy castles. Everything should be a bouncy castle. Or a bounce house, depending on your local vernacular. I need to bring more play into my day. And Ethan is off crash at the moment. He's a little bit sick. Too sick to go to crash, but not too sick to get in my way. And we've been tagging in and out while working from home and looking after a toddler. Don't recommend it. Avoid it if at all possible. But all he wants to do all day is play. And you know what? Me too. I want to play all day as well. But for that cursed capitalism. So I'm after bringing more play into my day. And you think, I'm tired, I'm sore. Well, try tell that to a kid. When a small child picks up an imaginary phone and hands it to you and says, ring, ring, it's for you. My God, you better pick up. And I can see that in the people who interact with him. And there's just a joy and a moment that, well, it's okay because I'm playing with a child. It's okay to play with a child. Man, woman, child. They, them and the whole carousel, lads. Every day is an opportunity to play. Even if you don't show it. Even if you're not as hyper and outwardly playing. You can make games from yourself. You can have fun. Even while you're doing boring things. I can't actually do this thing that I'm going to suggest. Right now, I want you to imagine a cow in a field. Moo. Whatever way the cow is facing in your mind, turn it upside down. Watch the cow turn now in your mind. And now turn the cow back around and place them on their hooves again. You can do that anytime you like, and no one will know you're doing it. I'm unable to do that. I don't see pictures in my mind. And I was really frustrated by that for ages. And then I found something else. Right now, regardless if you have access to someone else's hands or arms, you can imagine you're being hugged right now. You can have an absolute stone face on you. But inside, you can smile. You can laugh. And you can scream blue murder. And yet remain composed. What I would hope for you this week, whenever you need it, imagine you're on a bouncy castle. Your bus could be a bouncy castle. Your train could be a bouncy castle. Sitting in your office, sitting in the office chair. Going for a walk with the dog. You don't have to do it. But you can imagine it. You can pretend while you're in the lift anywhere, or walking upstairs, you can play the Gladiators theme song, and no one else will know but you. So, contenders, you can go on my first whistle. 3, 2, 1. Whistle. Thank you so much for listening. I hope some of that made sense. That's as close to a real life story as I will be able to bring you. And if you would like to listen to more, I'll talk to you again next week. Thank you so much for listening. Mind yourself. And go bounce on that castle. Bye.